Hello, all of the two people that watch my videos. So there have been a lot of news reports floating around about a possible addition to the Smash roster, the Super Smash Bros. Roster, and that would be everyone's favorite gardening tool indie character, Shovel Knight. Now, I personally love Shovel Knight. He's one of my favorite characters in an indie game ever. It's just the fact that his level design is great. It's just it's intuitive for people who are used to retro games, of which I am not. I absolutely suck at playing Shovel Knight. I cannot play it with a damn. But I do really, really like how it's designed. The music is beautiful. The sounds are great. The level design, I mean, it looks gorgeous. It is a gorgeous, gorgeous game. And a lot of people are like, oh, it doesn't remind me of the classic retro chiptunes feel. And I'm like, yeah, well, it does it better than a lot of indie games that try to do that out there. So, on the subject of Shovel Knight, and the fact that there are rumors of him being in Smash, and there are even some other rumors that I'll probably talk about in the second half of this video, I have dreamt up a moveset for him. And it's more of an aesthetic moveset, and not really a damage... I don't have, like, damage stats, and I don't have knockback. I have just what the attack would be. But I still think that's pretty cool. I mean, it's all about how Nintendo has been introducing a lot of characters who are love letters to their original franchises. Mega Man and Ryu and Pac-Man, these newcomers, are huge examples of this. With Ryu having his original input directions for the Shoryuken, his side special that I can't say, and the Hadouken, and even like the Yoga Flame, he has all of those original inputs that people that know the games can even use, and I think that's really, really cool. And then Mega Man having a bunch of different ideas from all of his different Robot Masters and different moves that are based off of the moves that you get from them when you beat them. So I tried to do that with Shovel Knight. I have a lot of his relics inputted into the moves, even some of his lesser-known moves. Now, I will leave a link to the Google Docs in the description because this is a really, really long document. Some of the attacks kind of not necessarily copy each other, but they're very similar, and so to just say, he does this again, he does this move again, I feel like it just wouldn't be very entertaining for a video, so I'm going to talk about some of my favorite moves, favorite selections of moves. I have it grouped into tilts, airs, so I'll definitely talk about the aerial attacks. I really love the aerial attacks, but specials will be included in there for sure, and I have a couple things that I have personal opinions on of how the final Smash should be done, and other such things. So, let's get into it. Alright, so these moves will be listed in the same format that Smash Wiki lists them. Smash Wiki is one of the premier Smash Brothers resources on the internet, and Smash Wiki orders it jab first, and I actually separated the jab into jab combo and jab infinite, so you hit the button 3 times, jab combo, you mash the button, jab infinite, but I wanted to skip over the jabs and go straight for the tilts. Alright, so first up we have Shovel Knight's forward tilt, which is Shovel Knight using the Flare Wand to fire a melee flame blast forward, and I know that the Flare Wand is a long-range horizontal weapon from the game, but truth be told, I didn't really have a place for it after I was done with all the throws. I really didn't think it was going to make it into the specials because I had an idea of what they were going to be already, but I think the forward tilt is a really good spot for it. Next up, we have Shovel Knight's up tilt, and as I've mentioned, the Dust Knuckles are my favorite relic. They're just so whimsical, and they're just fun to use because it's Shovel Knight with these enormous fists that you really don't understand how he can hold up. But apparently, Shovel Knight can also use these to perform a light uppercut and then a straight vertical hit. These hits will launch the opponent directly upward, which can set up for several other moves. For Shovel Knight's down tilt, he performs his iconic digging action, which everyone knows from the games. You use it to attack beetles, you use it to dig up gems, everything. This attack also digs up gems. It's around 5 each time. It can vary, being either 4 or possibly even 6, and it can also launch opponents within range slightly forward. And successfully collecting 100 gems without Shovel Knight being defeated, which would be losing a stock or falling off of the stage in a time match, will heal Shovel Knight by 5%, which is substantial for health regen. Next, I've grouped Shovel Knight's dash attack in with his tilts because they're very similar. They're basic attacks that can be inputted very simply. And it uses the only instance of this relic, the mobile gear. The mobile gear will hit opponents 5 times if used correctly and travels at a distance of around a third of Smashville's total length. So it's pretty significant in travel distance in addition to how far you've dashed already. Alright, next up is the smash attacks, which are incredibly reliant on Shovel Knight's Shovel Blade. Alright, so starting off, we're looking at Shovel Knight's forward smash, which is a very simple swing of his shovel blade in front of him, but much like its effect in-game, it can reflect projectiles like Ness's bat, and like Ness's bat, it can be tippered. So it's a pretty formidable forward smash. Next, we have Shovel Knight's up and down smash. Shovel Knight will thrust his shovel upwards for the up smash, but unlike Marth, who it draws inspiration from, it cannot scoop, which is kind of ironic considering it's a shovel. For his down smash, Shovel Knight will spin in a tight circle, holding his shovel around his feet. The tip of the shovel will trip opponents at the end of the move. However, this is also a sour spot, so there's not a whole lot of damage in tripping your opponents. Next up is Shovel Knight's aerial attacks, and those will not be followed by the throws and floor attacks, except I did want to mention that I used the throwing anchor in his edge attack. First of the aerials is Shovel Knight's neutral aerial. Now, I actually had difficulties with this one, but I eventually ended up settling on Shovel Knight punching twice to each side with the Dust Knuckles. These are going to appear one more time simply because they're my favorite relic, but that's kind of the perks of designing a fan-made moveset. In addition to Shovel Knight's edge attack, which I won't be talking about in this video, he uses the throwing anchor in his forward air. He thrusts it forward at short range and it has incredible knockback. For his back air, Shovel Knight simply swings his shovel backwards. For a lot of the directional moves, like forward and back, I was mostly copying whatever the last one did, so I kind of wanted to make the aerials a little bit differentiated, and this was my way of doing that. Despite the fact that the Dust Knuckles are my favorite relic, Shovel Knight's down aerial is my favorite aerial. Shovel Knight performs his trademark pogo shovel move, pointing the head of his shovel underneath his feet, bouncing on opponents to damage them. Shovel Knight will keep bouncing as long as he does damage to someone. However, the attack does not grant him much vertical movement. It's very easy for characters who have a fast, straightforward projectile attack, or even something like a Falcon Kick, to simply hit Shovel Knight as he's just bounced off of someone. Strolling past the grabs and throws brings us to Shovel Knight's special attacks, which are some of the most commonly customized moves in a fan-made moveset. I drew a lot of my inspiration from the special moves from a piece of art made by a user called Evil Waluigi on DeviantArt. They listed the special moves, the final smash, alternate costumes even, and I agreed with most of them, one of which was the Chaos Sphere, which is a very simple neutral special. It acts like Mario's Fireball, looks like a Chaos Sphere from the game. It does not disappear upon impact and does not fall off the stage like Mario's do. Shovel Knight's side special is, of course, the Dust Knuckles. It's a 3-hit combo that's similar to Marth or Lucina's Dancing Blade. A directional input can guide the second and third hits forward, up, or down. The first hit, with his right hand, will always lift the opponent just slightly off the ground. Now, I do have a guide for what each directional hit does in terms of what it looks like, but I wouldn't want to fill up more space because this video is probably already going to be really long, so that's going to be in the Google Doc too. The up special I chose for Shovel Knight is one of the last relics in the game, being the Propeller Dagger. He flies in a direction chosen by the player, which would be up, left, or right. This thing cannot fly down, it cannot fly diagonally, which limits his recovery, and to limit it further, flying horizontally will result in more distance than flying vertically. I didn't exactly agree with Evil Waluigi's choice for the down special, so I instead chose to use the fishing rod. Shovel Knight holds the fishing rod away from himself, letting the anchor drop to the ground and damage foes. In the air, the anchor will fall to the ground far before Shovel Knight and damage foes, pulling him downward. As Shovel Knight is being pulled, he will do minor damage to the opponents he hits. My favorite use of this is similar to the use in-game, which is off-stage. You can actually position the anchor to fall off-stage, and if you hit someone while doing so, the anchor will have a meteor effect. The final smash was something that I differed from the community on because a lot of people want his final smash to be Catch Her, even though I found in designing this moveset that Catch Her would be kind of difficult to use because of the setup and trying to explain where it comes from. So I actually decided to go for a mix of Warhorn and Catch Her. Shovel Knight reaches into a chest and pulls out the Warhorn. By inhaling into the Warhorn, nearby opponents are sucked into it. Exhaling, the Warhorn bellows captured opponents off the screen. After the final smash ends, a pixelated Shield Knight will fall from the top of the stage. The player who grabs this will earn a 1.2 multiplier buff to speed and jump height for 15 seconds. It's just something to kind of compensate for Shovel Knight being just a little bit heavier than normal and not having the best recovery, that having Shield Knight on his side can really help his chances of winning. And now it's time for the less scripted part of the episode. I just wanted to talk about a couple neat aesthetic things that I had ideas for, which would be Shovel Knight's taunts and his air dodge. For his up taunt, I thought it would just kind of, again, inspire from Marth. The both of them have that thrusting upward up smash, and so I thought I would give him a thrusting upward up taunt, where there's a little glimmer at the end of his shovel blade when he does the taunt. Shovel Knight's side taunt was very much inspired by Pac-Man in that it's summon something from your games, or rather in Pac-Man's case, Namco, and I was actually afraid that I would have way too many things to add in, but it turns out I had less items than Pac-Man. So Shovel Knight will open up a chest that appears in front of him, and when he does, it reveals one of several items, and these items can be anything that is considered a relic, which includes anything that was in the moveset in addition to the alchemy coin and the phase locket. Also, the other final two things that can come out of the chest are a cooked turkey, which does not replenish any of his health, and Chester. I had actually originally planned for the down taunt to be the chest taunt, but I actually thought it would be better if Shovel Knight lies down and sleeps with little pixelated Z's floating away from his head, which I think is hilarious that he's just this kind of really powerful adventurer, but even really powerful adventurers have to take naps. Everyone remember that. Shovel Knight's air dodge is pretty simple. It's just him using the phase locket. So it turns out that the alchemy coin was the only relic that I didn't use. The phase locket is just him. He's invincible for a certain amount of time, like a traditional air dodge. Now comes the second part of my video, which is me talking about a recent news leak of Shovel Knight possibly getting his own amiibo. And that's pretty crazy. I mean, we haven't really had a lot of third-party characters to begin with. We've had Snake, we've had Sonic, Ryu, and Mega Man, and Pac-Man. And so, of course, we have Sonic and Mega Man and Pac-Man as current amiibo, and then we have Ryu as a coming amiibo. So it was pretty cool to see these characters and know that one character was going to be immortalized in these little plastic figurines. But the image has been floating around, and a lot of people say that it's fake. I actually have a lot of faith in it. I mean, it's coming from Game, which is basically Gamestop, but for Europe. So, I mean, it's a fairly reliable source. I'm not going to say that it's, confirmed, but I'd like to think that it was real. But what a lot of people are saying is that he's not confirmed to Smash. And I'll get to my opinion on that, but we're not getting a Smash amiibo. That's the thing that a lot of people kind of realized, is it's a Yacht Club labeled amiibo, that it's shaped differently, and yes, the figure on the inside does have a different shape that we have never seen on any available Shovel Knight figure in existence. It pretty much confirms his existence as an amiibo, but it doesn't confirm his existence in Smash, which is what most people think. Here's my opinion. So, I'm happy to get a Shovel Knight amiibo. I love Shovel Knight, but I still think he's in Smash. Because the thing is, Plague of Shadows is coming out at the time of this video. It has not been released. And it's going to be perfect, because they said in the tweet that Game made, I'll even pull it up and I'll read it. I will grab it right here. I don't have the subreddit for Amiibo open, but I will grab it. I promise I will grab it. But I remember that they said that it would be compatible with 3DS and Wii U Yacht Club games. So Yacht Club, for one thing, is planning to possibly include Shovel Knight or Shovel Knight themed bonuses in more of their future games, which I think is cool, because I always like Shovel Knight appearing in stuff like Runbow. But it's, I mean, the amiibo is nice looking. It's really, really nice looking. But what I think it is, for example, look at the time of release of Mewtwo and Mewtwo's actual amiibo release date. It's about 8 months. So a lot of people are like, oh, well, Shovel Knight getting an amiibo this quickly, it doesn't mean he's confirmed for Smash. Now, here's my thinking. Where did Shovel Knight show up first? On the 3DS. It had to be moved to Xbox and PlayStation and PC, everything. It had to be moved there, it had to be ported. But it started out on the 3DS. Probably because the hardware was really forgiving, in my opinion. I mean, it really did the game justice to give it its fullest features on the 3DS, and I still think that the 3DS is one of its best platforms to play it on. But that means that potentially this amiibo could have been released, or could have been planned for release in earlier this year, 8 months ago. Well, approximately 8 months. We'll say like January. Maybe they planned to make a Shovel Knight amiibo in January, or maybe well into the popularity of Shovel Knight on the 3DS, they decided to make one. So, I mean, it's pretty crazy that this exists in the first place. It's just so cool. Evidence that people are saying relate to Shovel Knight having some kind of inclusion in Smash and being playable. Because, as PAX Prime is coming up this weekend, apparently Nintendo has reserved demo platforms, like places to play the Smash Brothers demo for PAX Prime. So, of course, that kind of leads us to believe, well, why would they have someone play a demo of a game that's almost a year old? I mean, don't we already know what it's like, what it is like to play it? And a lot of people are like, oh, well, that means that they're going to release Shovel Knight because we're getting this amiibo news, we're getting this news about Yacht Club having a megaton announcement. And here's my take on it. I think that the amiibo is going to be the primary way that we get Shovel Knight in Smash. That this Shovel Knight themed amiibo is going to act like a Woolly World Yoshi, or a Mario Brothers Luigi, or a Skylanders DK. That they function as an amiibo in Smash, but they're not from the series, because they've been working on this amiibo since, I don't know, January. Let's just say January. Let's just say they've been working on it since January, which is a couple months before they started work on Mewtwo's amiibo. Or maybe it wasn't started work, but since he was released to the world. So they had been planning this Shovel Knight amiibo for a long while, because the most popular place to find Shovel Knight on a gaming system was the 3DS. However, if we're getting Shovel Knight for the Smash ballot, which is set to end in about a month or two, which is also the rumor that some retailers gave us when, just a couple days ago, before this amiibo even existed, retailers were saying, Shovel Knight is ready to drop as DLC in about a month or two, and that was on about October 25th or 24th, and about 2 months away from that is, or not October, August 23rd, 24th, 25th. So in that time frame, 1 to 2 months away is landing, 2 months away is landing exactly, almost exactly on October 23rd, which is when the Smash ballot is set to end. So I think it's very possible that he's going to come to Smash. I think that this is their way, this is their gateway amiibo. This is their way of saying, hey, this is how you're going to get him so far. We're working on another one. But I mean, a lot of people were saying that it was fake because it didn't match the artwork, and I was like, okay, look at the series that aren't Smash. Smash is known for having distinct character portraits that show up everywhere in the game. In-game trophies match the character portraits. They have other, they have other situations in which the character portraits matter, like crazy orders, or in custom characters, or in master orders, or even classic mode. And the character portraits are meant to match up because they look like the official art of the characters, and then the amiibo is designed off of the official art and the character portrait. And a lot of people are like, oh, well, Shovel Knight has a different picture, so obviously it can't be Shovel Knight. And of course, Jerry Seinfeld Kermit is wrong, because that happens with several other Nintendo licensed series. Splatoon. Everyone has been saying, every time someone says that, they're like, Splatoon 3-pack, Splatoon individuals. Every single time, because their art was separate. They didn't look like their art that was on the back of the box. And same with the new Animal Crossing amiibo, the 3-pack that we've seen with KK Slider that makes me really mad, because as much as I love llamas, I really want to buy KK for just like 13 bucks. Anyway, so licensed characters have shown that they don't need to have the box art match the amiibo. So I think it's entirely possible. I think they chose a really nice size for him because his legs are typically very small. And honestly, the shovel doesn't look exactly the same. He seems kind of like his horns aren't as cartoony. They're not as huge. He looks a little bit more medium-sized, and I'm thinking that the resizing of his legs and his horns and the reshaping of his shovel may lead us to believe that that's his redesign for Smash. I mean, it's a very far-fetched theory, considering that it's just an amiibo for Shovel Knight and it's not going to be in Smash. I don't know. I'm really, really hoping. If anything, I love that we have a Shovel Knight amiibo, and I love that he's being brought into this family. That he's possibly one of the most popular and loved indie game characters in a long time, and it's really, really exciting because I love Shovel Knight, and I'm very happy for him.